Been going through your responses to both Hitchcock films this week, and just haven't gotten a chance to give a full update till now. On Psycho, most of you felt that Norman was the protagonist after our heroine has been killed. So one of the things I want you to think about as we wrap up the discussion this weekend is think about if Norman is the protagonist or is the focus of the film at least. Does Hitchcock do anything to make him likable or to humanize him? Because we do find out that he is a killer. So just kind of think about some of the things that Hitchcock does to actually humanize Norman Bates. Okay, and then some of you really had some harsh criticism toward the end. Jacqueline made a really interesting point that we would have been able to infer everything that happened if we had just seen Norman in his mother's dress, which is a good point, but it made me think about how the film, what would be the last shot of the film if you had left out the whole bit with the psychiatrist at the police station. What would be the last shot of the film? Would it just focus, would it end right with Sam pinning Norman as he's in his mother's dress wielding the knife? We're going to get into story and writing, and there's a dramatic structure to things, and I think that Hitchcock may have included that last scene at the police station so that it didn't have that abrupt end. Some films do. No Country for Old Men's a really good example if you've ever seen it. It won Best Picture several years ago, and it has this very abrupt end. And it tends to put people off when films abruptly end because we're used to seeing a denouement or a catastrophe, so something at the end that resolves the action, whereas the main character ends up either better off or worse off. In this case, the main character is killed early on, so the main character becomes Norman. You could say that it would be a catastrophe for Norman because he got caught. But we'll get more into that when we do story and writing. Moving on to Rear Window. Interesting about what your guys' take on Rear Window ethics was. Emily made a really good point that Lisa's pulled into this world of voyeurism. It becomes like an addiction. That neither one of them can look away, and that by loving Jeff so much that she kind of gets pulled into this web of voyeurism along with him. Think about this. Most of you said that what Hitchcock was saying about Rear Window ethics is that when you start looking for things that you shouldn't be looking at, you'll inevitably get in more trouble. And I think that's certainly one of the themes of the film. But on the other side of that, Thirlwall would have probably gotten away with murder had Jeffrey not been engaging in this rear window voyeurism. So something to think about as we wrap up the discussion this week. Additionally, this is certainly not required at all, but I mentioned the first night of class that I set up a cyber cafe for people to just talk about anything non-course related. It's totally optional. You don't have to use it. I just wanted to let you know I posted something in there today. I just wanted to see if anybody was following the Penn State football scandal story and your thoughts on it, and particularly how you're getting your news on this story, and how you feel the media is covering it. One of the reasons why I'm curious about this, and again, this is totally optional, just if you happen to be following the story and feel like sharing your thoughts on it, please feel free to do so in the Cyber Cafe. I'm interested not only because we're part of the Penn State community, but I'm also teaching Comm100, which is mass media and society. I'll also be teaching it in the hybrid format. So if this was a format that you enjoyed and you need Comm100, I encourage you to take it. We'll be talking about this story extensively as the Comm100 class starts next semester, because it's all about how the media covers news and how that impacts you. That's a big part of the course. So if anybody feels like sharing their thoughts on that, I posted something in the Cyber Cafe. Again, you don't have to. Totally optional. Just curious how many of you were following the story. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I look forward to reading the rest of your posts on our two Hitchcock films.